through
Great.
that. Yeah.
So, thank you very much and congratulations for
Thank you.
everything. The movie deserves it. I saw it thanks to the screener you gave me. It was brilliant, and it left me in tears. And I think, uh, but happy tears, which I think is the way it moved the whole world. There's so many things I want to talk to you about the movie, but one of the most striking scenes to me is really the opening, and it tells you so much about migrants, the cities they go to, the inequality they see. I wanted to ask you about that first because it's such a passionate, montage, and it encapsulates years of living and knowing something. So I wanted to ask you about that.
Um, like I come from a background of doing more nonfiction, and I like very much cinema where there is fiction and nonfiction mixed. So when with my camera person, Ronobir Das, when I was working on the script itself, we were doing a lot of interviews in Mumbai, meeting people, just documenting because it's part of the writing also to document and to meet people and
Exactly.
all that. So for 2 years we were doing that. So we were thinking that some of that material was so interesting. So we were thinking how we can put it into the film. We can't obviously have a very long thing. So we listened to everything, and some of the snippets we really liked. We chose those and then took those same lines to other people and said that, what do you think, this person has said this, now what do you think that they are saying like this, did something like this happen? So then they made it. I was like, this happened to me also, but like this. And then it became like a,
Wow.
um,
Conversation.
yeah, so it was very interesting. And I didn't start it off with the intention that it will be in the film. It was more out of my own curiosity and writing the script. But then we were listening to it while doing the editing, and we had shot also a lot of Mumbai over many years. So we put it together and we said, okay, this could be a nice way to enter, because like we had shot Mumbai a lot, and we were thinking that the film should be like a city symphony.
Yes.
And then when the Prabha opens the curtain, then we are taking this many songs of the city or many voices and choosing one and then making a fiction story out of it. But there are many such stories. It's nothing
Yeah.
unique, We travel by ladies' compartment. You're hearing so many different stories, and I'm a big eavesdropper. So, so it was. I felt that you can't be in Mumbai and not talk about the diversity that is there. That is
Yeah.
Mumbai. So all these things were kind of in my mind, and this made sense to be a representation of that diversity that I have seen being here.
Right. And in a sense, then it leads so beautifully into the fiction that you think you're just watching somebody live their life, you know? You don't feel that you're recreating something. You just feel you're just, being carried along. But, talk a little about the casting because, when you see Kani's eyes, for instance, and the circles under eyes, you see someone who's so weary, and yet it's just the face. I mean, she's just it's just the face. And Dilya's eyes are always darting around, and
They're really
Chaya,
good actors.
they really like that,
Yeah,
no? And
they're so good.
Chaya is just someone who's so solid, so each of them has one kind of experience of the city, and they're carrying it within their souls, and you can see it in their eyes. So talk a little about how you chose these three women, and for me, they encapsulate three different kinds of living, but
Yeah,
resilience in every way.
absolutely. Um, just they are firstly really good actors, because if you see
Yeah,
the
of
range of the work they've done, like
course.
when I met Divya, I had met her because of this Aripu film of
Right.
Mahesh Narayan, and in that she's very like serious and intense kind of role.
Yeah,
So when I met her, I didn't know like what I would cast her for, because she wasn't giving me Anu from that role.
right.
uh, but I saw her Instagram page where she's very lively and very like, she's amazing, full of life. I mean, she's amazing in the movie also, but not in the way that I was looking. Then
Yeah.
when I met her, she had cut her hair, and she was very bubbly, and she was like, Payal, no, everybody gives me only serious roles. Nobody's giving me fun roles, but I'm very fun. So then I spent some time with her and I realized it's true. She is really fun. So
I had an echo of it in the movie when she's saying, I wanted to be an air hostess, but so there's a little bit of that, I think.
yeah. So, and she has like very nice micro expressions sometimes with her
Yeah.
mouth. Like when that girl tells her about the vasectomy, all she did herself. She was like, "Ooh." And then, it's like, where does this come from? It's so good the way she did it. So, a lot
Yeah.
of it was them only like, uh, internalizing the character so much that they gave me a lot of masala.
Kani?
Kani also like Kani is very serious. Like she studied theater a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
she works a lot on the body language, on the
Right.
physicality of things. So, for example, the scene where she's hugging that rice cooker, that's a very
Yeah.
theater scene,
Yeah.
like she puts her whole body into it. So I wanted to have more silent scenes with her because she's so good with physical acting. And like you said, you look at her eyes only and there's like such a complex universe inside. So yeah, she was, and it was interesting for me because when she came, she's like, oh, I don't like this character. She's so stuck up, which I thought was interesting also because if the
Yeah.
actor doesn't like, then there's always this conflict that you get, which it puts you also as a viewer in an ambivalent place. At least that's what it did for me, because the character is a bit, you don't know, like you feel sorry for her also, but you just feel like sometimes shaking her up. So
Yeah.
I think that contradiction helped me.
Right. And Chaya, whom of course we also saw in Lapata before I saw your movie, but she was brilliant in that. But here she's again, solid in a different way.
Sorry, it's a mosquito. uh,
Oh, please. Very
yeah, and
scary
like
things.
that's true these days, especially. uh, I wanted Chaya's character to be Parvati. Like if you are from Mumbai, are you from Mumbai?
No, but I'm from Delhi, but I've seen quite a bit of Mumbai.
So, where the character of Parvati was coming from is that there is a long history of women from Konkan, the Ratnagiri
Yeah,
region, where the second part is with, to come and live and work in Mumbai. And usually it was to live with their husbands who were mill workers. And,
right.
and as we know what happened in the 80s with the
Yeah,
strikes, a lot of the men lost their jobs, and there was an overall kind of low uh, in the mindset of everybody. So a lot of
right.
the women had to step up and start working and become the sole bread earners of the family. So if you meet a lot of these women from the Konkan who are old Mumbai people, there's a lot of like no nonsense-ness to them. They're like,
Uh,
nee, we can't feel sorry for ourselves. Like we have to, I,
mhm.
I can't have another day of life here. I need to move on. So there's that kind of uh, energy to Parvati, which is a kind of a homage to those women from Konkan who've sort of become the strong,
The spine actually of the city in a way. They're the fisher women, they're the
yeah,
women who probably work in homes. I mean, they're the women who built the city in a way.
there's
And
the women who
I
built
love
this.
that. I love that conversation that you have, that line, about the tall towers. There's so many lovely things that you've said and you've got away with it. Thank God. So,
Because it really irritates me.
yeah,
Like all of Mumbai's architecture has changed and become so
yeah,
violently gentrified that
yeah.
I have seen it my whole life, and I don't know. It's something that, like, the feeling of the city has changed in 20 years.
Absolutely. And I think the old Bandra and the old fishing villages and the way they happily coexisted. When you now see that highway, that coastal road, and you see it comes right to the Coalies. And I
Mm.
mean, I don't know how are they going to survive like that? They won't be able
Yeah,
to survive, right?
yeah,
So
true.
in a way, your movie also is documenting that whole change.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of history. It's so much. And I think the idea of her having to show her papers, for me, it was the CAA and all that. And a very clever girl, Payal.
You notice these things. Not everybody got my Kagaz reference. So,
Yeah, but I thought, what a clever woman you are. So I think it's and yet it's such a joyous film. It talks about such deep issues, but there's so much joy, and I think that's because of the love. And talk a little about love and how important it is for us to have that.
I mean, the last movie I made was very sad. So this time I said I should be talking about the same things, but to be little jovial so people will watch it.
Yeah,
But making the same points.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, I think I was very interested in this unit of the family, and it kind of the two things. One is that families are there for us and it's very important part of Indian life, but oftentimes they also let us down a lot.
right,
And so I was trying to propose a new kind of family, which is the family of our friends, which I think a lot of women do rely on. And as I grow older, more and more I feel myself relying on my friends and that family of the that I've made. So I was trying to propose a new kind of family, but also this feeling that all relationships in our like mother, daughter, father, all these things are very well defined over so much writing and such a lot of media, and especially in India, like it's all so codified, and also very, yeah, religion also comes into it.
stratified religion.
Yeah,
Then of course
yeah.
religions, just spoils it all.
I mean,
Yeah,
country is mother and all these things also.
yeah, yeah,
So it's all very complicated. But the friendship is an open relationship. Like we define what our friendship should be. And that I feel when there is that open definition, it gives a lot of possibility to go beyond identity and the limitations of relationships formed or not formed because of class and caste differences. Perhaps friendship is the way.
yeah.
Uh, so that
Is
was
that
my
some?
thought
Yeah.
process.
Is that something also that you've seen over the years? Because I love the idea that you've been to so many different kinds of institutions,
Yeah.
Rishi Valley, which proposes a particular kind of openness, but then going to Xavier's, Sophia, coming to FTI, which again proposes another kind of openness, but also you have to deal with a whole lot of rules which are imposed on you and decisions that you may not like. So, how have you negotiated those personally, and how has that affected the way you are seeing these relationships with authority, with family?
For me, FTI was one of the most important institutions that I went to, because it was the one that I felt was most diverse, and the kind of people that came from all over the country,
Mhm.
and with representation also being important in public institutes. For me, it was the most deepest learning time. And even if there are rules with the administration, that makes you closer to your classmates and your batchmates
Right.
and your friends and the students, because you're always trying to find ways to do the best you can do as a filmmaker. uh, Filmmaking anyway is like it's a challenge at every step. You're just like, why am I doing this job?
Yeah.
It's you're in pain all the time, and then
Yeah.
so it helps you grow as a person. At least I feel, making films, at every step you learn so much. So that time with those people, with my colleagues there, I felt that it was the most amount of learning for me. Whether it was also the strike that happened, or
Yeah.
it was just filmmaking and the kind of issues we talked about in class, the kind of diversity that people brought to the class, all these things taught me a lot. And I felt that until then I'd been, even if I went to Rishi Valley or Xavier's, those were quite sheltered spaces, uh, and they were not public institutes in the same way.
Hmm.
So I feel that it was actually FTI that really opened up my mind and helped me formulate a lot of my thoughts.
Right. Also, Payal, filmmaking, as you said, is painful, but it is also, of course, a wonderful profession. But it's both individual as well as collaborative. So you have to have a strong sense of self and self identity, but you also have to learn to be a team player. There's no way you can be a director without it. So
You're very
all
kind.
these years that you've also, in a sense, funded your own cinema, through scholarships, fellowships. I've seen, the kind of work you've done. It's been a lot of hard work because this is not the kind of cinema that gets funded easily in this country. Talk a little about that struggle.
there are a lot of commissions and structures in place around the world which we don't have in India. I mean, we have very little bit like this NFDC Film Bazaar and things
NFDC, yeah,
like
yeah.
that, which we need more of. But there are a lot of places in the West where you can go, you can talk about your film, you can meet collaborators, you can apply for grants. Fortunately, I met producers from France quite early on, and there the producers are not like here, like they don't have any money. They are also applying for the grants like you
Right,
know. They don't come from like some pot of gold under their beds. It's not like that. So it's like sub apply kar rahe hain and everybody wants to make the film. So for
right,
them also it was their first film. For me also it was my first film because you can't really like non-fiction is very different from fiction
yeah.
fund. So I think that we all wanted to really make a film. So they also really got behind applying for every possible grant that we could together. The process takes a bit of time, but I I'm a very process-driven institute person. Like I like being in college, and I like doing the submissions on time and things like that. I'm a bit of a nerd, and I like structure in that way. But people don't necessarily need it. But since I enjoy that, I was happy to write the commissions and to do the grant writing. Of course, at
Because
some
it's a
point,
lot of writing, right? Lot
it's
of
a lot.
writing. Yeah.
At some point, I was like, why I can't do it anymore, and I did want to not do it because it took a long time. But still, I think, and I would say this for young filmmakers who are going to do the same path, that you just have to keep at it because if you want some amount of freedom while shooting, then this is a good way. So you have to
Yeah.
see, where you want to spend that time. Do you want to be negotiating with somebody who's going to give you money, or you want to just take extra time and work to apply for commissions that give you freedom.
So, what was that time in your career when you first were opened up, when you first realized that this is the world out there that I can tap into? Was it through your short film or through the
Yes.
documentary?
When I made two short films when I was in the institute, I made a film called Afternoon Clouds,
Right,
which was in the student section in Cannes. And then after that, I made a film called And What Is the Summer Saying, which was in Berlinale Shorts. So at that time, I met a lot of filmmakers from around the world, and
right.
they were also trying the same thing because we were all at the same stage in our very early
Yes.
career. So, and at that time, in these kind of film festivals, a lot of young producers also come. Again, not producers who have money, but producers
Yeah,
who are keen to produce, uh, who are passionate about film. One of my main things is I wanted to work with people who have the same taste in cinema, that
yeah.
we can go to the same films and be obsessed with it or hate it, have that we can have some discourse basically. Uh,
Right,
so that really opened up my mind that okay, there is this possibility, there is ways to apply, there is a structure in place. So in the West they help you at every stage. When you start to write, you can apply for residencies, you can apply for grants, so you get a small salary. So it's and then next stage is to ask for research money, next stage is to ask for the pre-production money. So it's very structured. It's not like it's going to be huge amounts, but
yeah.
if you, for a small film, you can get by.
Right, right. So this whole idea that filmmakers are rolling in money is, of course, a big
I think
misnomer.
independent filmmakers are always sad that
Always
we are not
garib
rolling in
and
money.
garib and happy.
I mean, it's not like okay, it would be really wrong for me to call myself Garib, but I
Yeah,
just
but
feel like
in a way,
in a way that we don't have large budgets and you have to
yeah,
try to do the best that you can. And but that's also good. I feel one
I
finds
think so.
ways. Yeah,
Yeah, you find ways to make that money
work.
stretch, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we have 5 minutes left. Quickly, I wanted to ask you about the intimacy that you've shown. Again, something that we don't normally see. It's such a gentle and easy intimacy. And, the whole idea of, I mean, half of the movie is, of course, leading up to them looking for a space, which is, of course,
Yes.
again, a comment on our cities. But I wanted to talk to you about that scene itself. So well shot and so beautifully shot. Talk a little about putting all your actors at ease and doing, making that happen.
We were discussing the scene for a long time from the
Yeah,
very beginning, and fortunately the actors were very open to it because they felt while reading the script that it's not seeming forced, like it's
Yeah,
feeling like it's a natural progression. So that was always a good positive conversation with them. And then we had an intimacy coordinator on set,
right.
Naina. She's very very good. uh,
Who's this?
Naina Ban, she's also an
Oh,
actress.
Naina. Yeah, yeah, she's an actor. Yeah, yeah. That's right.
She's a very good, she's really good at this job as
Yeah,
well, besides acting. So she put everybody at ease. She did some exercises with us, and it was a very pleasant time. And then we discussed everything beforehand. We like wrote a lot about how it should be, how they are feeling at this point. So for me, it was more important of Anu's feelings rather than the act itself, but what's going on in her mind, which is why the camera mostly focuses on that, and her like internal landscape at that moment.
right.
So we talked a lot about this, and it's very hard to perform also. But I think because we were so मैं बहुत देर से बात कर रहे थे उसके बारे में, और हम सब लड़कियां ही थी सेट पे, तो
Yeah.
it was very it felt quite okay to do. And yeah,
Except that poor little boy who's so sweet.
yeah, we bullied him a lot. Don't put that in, but but it
Yeah,
was
he
just
looked at it.
yeah, like I shot the scene. My DOP didn't shoot it because he was a guy and we didn't
Yeah,
want that. So it was all girls only on set, and very it was a nice feeling.
yeah. And the other wonderful scene, of course, which I'm sure the whole world has told you, is when they're dancing. Chaya, sort of, I think they looked really drunk, were they? But no.
I think they're really good actors. Yeah, they'll do anything. Like they can make everything convincing. I'm so like so honored to have and so privileged to have worked with them. My job is easy.
But you worked a lot with them. They were saying
Yeah.
that Tani said that you had a long workshop with them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
10
that's true. We
days or
worked together, yeah, for almost 3 weeks. Not with Chaya so much. Chaya was just a few days, because she's, I mean, with I don't speak Malayalam, no, so I
yeah,
needed that time. It was more also for me to kind of get used to the language, and for us to work out the cadence of the speech, all these kind of things. I needed that time. And Marathi I speak, Hindi I speak, so it wasn't like I didn't need that much time with Chaya, for example.
right, right.
But we worked
So,
a lot on things like the body language of
body.
Parvati.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
sticks out her stomach like this, and she's confident and also underconfident, which I think a lot. Like I'm also a bit of a wobbly feminist, so I didn't want it to be like all these perfect people who know exactly what is good and bad. They're like, huh? She's also erratic. Suddenly she's saying, "I want to leave the city and go." She didn't want to try harder or things like that. So she's also erratic sometimes. She does whatever. So there were all these
Right.
kind of things I was thinking about.
Yeah, and I think all of it comes together so beautifully. Just the last question, Kyle. It's resonated around the world, and especially with the French. What is it? I mean, I know it's a beautiful movie, it's humane, but what do you think in particular resonated so much with them?
I'm not really sure, but I think some of these questions about women's friendship and solidarity and kind of uh, being there for one another is an issue that's all over the world. They may not have the
Right.
fundamental issues that we do, which are like more to do with religion and marriage
Religion
and all this kind of stuff.
and hunger and
Yeah,
poverty and
yeah.
inequality.
They don't have inequality at all in this way.
Yeah.
But I think fundamentally, a lot of women came and said to me that there are issues in their systems also which they related to. So, in spite of all the so called progress, there's still a long way to go.
I wonder what your mom felt when she saw it.
My mother just felt proud.
I see a lot of her work also in the film.
Yeah,
Her sensibility is all
definitely.
pervasive,
How can
isn't
it
it?
not be? Yeah,
How can it not be? But I'm sure she must have loved some of the issues that you brought out without, you know,
yeah.
pushing them in your face.
She's very supportive, and she's always somebody like what I gain a lot from my mother is her rigor. I never a day in my life have I seen her not work.
Oh,
And she's self-employed, right? Like, so she sets her own timetable, and she
right.
always worked. She always was making. And I don't know, like I feel as a filmmaker, watching her as everyday practice made me also want to continuously, that this is the way and this is what I love doing. So it shouldn't feel like a chore. It should feel like I'm thankful that I get to do this every day. But yeah, she had a lot of rigor and discipline. Every day from 9 to 5, she worked.
Right. Regardless of whether there was a market out there or not, or what was trending, what was not trending,
Yeah,
she
she
did her
just
thing.
worked. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of that also I can see reflected in the way you are conducting your career, right?
Yeah, I think that has really taught me a kind of discipline towards work.
Right. So you're a Mumbai girl, Payal, or have you become Frenchified now?
No, no, I'm not. I'm very Mumbai, but I've also lived in different places. So my relationship with the city has also been somebody who's leaving and coming back. So it's a bit
Living
raw.
back. Right. Such a pleasure to talk to you. I wish we could go on, but please
Thank
do
you so
try and
much.
send
It
this
was fun.
screener, send the Night of Knowing Nothing. I'd love to see it. I really would. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.